You're asking me how the hell it was that I ended up having an accident. I don't know if it was an accident or not, but a memorable step in my life. I think in life that you go through stages. I left my childhood and went into middle age, perhaps you could say, when I was in my early 30s, when I got hepatitis. Seemed to take something out of me, and I was never the same after that. Then I think I went from my middle age into pre-old age when I had my stomach ulcer. Stomach ulcer, that sounds surprisingly tame. My duodenum, which is the connection between the bottom of your stomach and your small intestine, it burst. It came open. I asked the doctor about that. I said, well, what happened then? He said, well, all the garbage was free to go over your abdominal cavity. I said, well, is that dangerous? He said, well, you're a strong guy, he said, so I would have given you 24 hours to live in that kind of a state. So I guess it was serious. It began when I was in Winnipeg that I was always feeling a bit nauseated and that. And I asked the doctor, I said, what is this? He says, well, I think they call it colitis. It's sort of a permanent nausea that you'd feel. And I said, well, what causes that? And he says, well, it could be anything, maybe what you're eating, or it could be stress or whatever. Then when we came here to Montreal, our family doctor, and he said, well, maybe it's stress. Then when I went down to the States, I had an offer I couldn't refuse, $500 working in the fur industry. I was living in the factory and breathing the chemical, snorting the chemical, doing whatever it is that you do with chemicals. I was doing it in a very intimate sort of way because the fur industry is an industry which uses the greatest variety of chemicals of any industry known to man. It got to the point where I was really eating nothing. And then I decided, well, maybe I should go vegetarian. So I tried that. I was eating lettuce and that, and it got to the point where I was basically vomiting nonstop. Every time somebody wouldn't be looking, I would dip around the back of a tank and just have a quick vomit. One morning, basically something terribly happened, and I was breaking into a cold sweat, and I felt in pain. So I said to the owner, I said, you have to take me to the hospital. I said, I can't stand it anymore. There's something dreadfully wrong. So he put me in his station wagon, him and one of his colleagues, and they took me to the hospital. I was a wounded animal and in terrible pain. I guess pain hurts, but also pain makes you angry, which meant that I was also ready to kill. And we showed up at the hospital, Beth Israel Hospital, and we got the wrong door. I don't know which door we got, but it was the wrong one, which the security guard pointed out to us very quickly that we'd have to go around. I said, fuck it. I said, this is a hospital, and I'm here, and I'm sick, and you guys are going to take care of me. And he decided that I was right. So right away he told somebody to get me a wheelchair, and then they pushed me over to the appropriate spot. So that problem was resolved. The first thing was I didn't even ask what's wrong with me. I said, give me something for pain. And so I said, give me something for pain. And I said, give you something for pain. And they decided I wanted something for pain. So they got it for me, but it wasn't quite quick enough because it hurt a lot and I was feeling uncomfortable. Then they decided I needed an intravenous, and there was a very pretty nurse that came. I don't know if I was her first patient or not, but she wasn't able to make the bandage stick onto my arm, the tape stick onto my arm. And it's because when you're in pain, you tend to build up a sheen of sweat on you, but it's a cold sweat, so nothing would stick. But somehow she got the intravenous into me. They sent me for all kinds of tests, and then they decided to check my memory by asking who my mother's maiden name was and things like that. And they would ask it a number of times, and the questions were quite repetitive, and I have a good memory, so even if I'd forgotten, all I had to do was remember what I said before, and I had all the answers. But anyhow, finally, this group of doctors, a group of doctors in training showed up with their leader, and they said, we think we know what you have. I said, well, what's that? They said, it's your gallbladder. Really? I said, take it out. They said, no, we want to take some more, do some more tests, but take it out. I said. They said, well, we'll do these tests. So then they gave me some chalk to drink, liquid chalk, for the, I think that's a CAT scan, if my memory serves me correctly. It's a CAT scan. And that was the clincher. I don't know why they didn't give me that in the first place, because with all that dye in your system, it shows up very clearly what's going on with you. In my case, it showed them that I had a hole, and that things were coming out of the hole, and that were just mingling through my body there, going wherever they wanted. He said, well, you have a hole in your duodenum, and we have to patch it. So that's fine. All this time, I didn't say anything to my wife. The biggest reason to say, oh, I'm dreadfully sick, and maybe I'm dying. And normally the question is, how come? And I didn't know how come. All I knew was I didn't feel well. So I waited for the answer, and when they told me the answer, then the next step in my great journey with this malaise was to let my wife know about it, to share the happy news. And I said, I want to call my wife. But it took a long time before they finally took my, what do you call it, gurney, over by a phone, and I was able to call her, and I told her I was waiting to call you because I didn't know what I have, but now I know what I have, and it's such and such. Now, my wife to this day, she maintains that I didn't tell her, that she knew that I was dreadfully sick, but she didn't know what from. So with all the talking I did, it would seem that I forgot to mention what I was dreadfully sick from. But anyhow, she figured out how to be to my bedside, and she was there within 12 hours. She had to do a lot of wheeling and dealing, get her hands on some money and that, and buy a bus ticket for her and for our daughter, and like that. They operated on me around 6:30 in the evening, and by about 6:30 the next morning, she was at my bedside there. After the operation, the first recollection I have of anything was this lovely nurse that was in the recovery room where the anesthesia comes off. She says to me, oh, you woke up, eh? Well, no, that wouldn't be the A, it would be the yes. So I said, yeah. She says, well, how do you feel? I said, I feel great. And she started to laugh and laugh. She says, in all the years that I worked here in the recovery room, she says, that's never been one of the answers. Remember, they tried to move me from one bed to another, and nobody seemed to know how to do it. So I said, well, here, let me do that. And everybody panicked that I wasn't supposed to do it. But I tried to help them and cooperate as much as I could, because to move a 6'4" lug around is kind of hard, and they didn't seem to know how. The next morning, the nurses were way too cheerful. They were quite irritable, actually. I just wanted them to go away and leave me alone. And they said, well, you have to get up. You have to do exercise. I said, I don't have to do anything. Go and leave me alone. And they would come back, no, but you really have to. Buzz off, I'd say, and that. And so I made my own rest period there. But the next morning, when I figured it was early morning, I was ready to punch in and go to work and to figure a way of getting out of that damn hospital. So then they got it rigged up so that I could walk. And I'd carry my bottles on their little bottle tray, the mobile thing that I'd hold on to that with one hand. And then I had another one that was for my turkey nose, I call it, because you know how a turkey has sort of a long thing that droops down from its throat. It came through my nose. It was a tube that went down to my stomach there, and it was taking all this green slime out of my abdominal cavity and depositing it in a bottle. So I was roaming around the hall with these two bottle rig-ups, and I decided if you want to get out of a hospital fast, the best thing to do is to be a pain in the ass. So I tried to be a pain in the ass by walking past the nurses' station as much as I could. I would walk back and forth, just making sure that I was very visible. And it finally got to a point where they said, "Oh, no, you're doing too much. You're going to get overtired." And so I did it even more, And so I think I did a remarkable recovery. I was out of that hospital probably in record speed, considering what it was that I had. And then the next thing was to see where I was going to live. It wasn't appropriate to be living still in the factory when I was dreadfully ill and that. So my wife went through one of her old directories, agenda books, and she found that 200 miles away in Princeton, New Jersey, that she had an old classmate that was living. So she made the arrangements, and we lived in Princeton, New Jersey. And I think I took 2 or 3 days off work, and then I went back to work because I had a contract. There was money involved there. We couldn't just lay around and do nothing, especially losing money. So I went back to work. They don't stitch you anymore. They put staples into you when they want to close the wound. So I went back to work with a bunch of staples in my stomach. And started to work. And every time I worked, if I lifted something like that, I guess the stomach muscles would contract and a spurt of blood would come out. And so we learned very quickly it was a good idea to carry a laundry bag full of T-shirts. So every few minutes I'd take off one T-shirt when it was blood-stained, and then put on another T-shirt. When that was blood-stained, then put on another T-shirt. I did the work as fast as I could. I finished my contract and got the hell out of there. And one of the nicest moments in my life was as I guess we'd be going across it was either Jacques Cartier or Champlain Bridge. Jacques Cartier, I think it was, coming across and seeing the night lights of Montreal in the distance. And it was a milestone in my life because at that point I said, this is Montreal, and I'm coming home, and Montreal is my home